What up? Welcome to Homegrown Hustle, where local brilliance takes the center stage. I'm your host, Matt Eickman. Together, we're about to embark on an inspiring journey. Our community thrives on the wisdom of insightful leaders that are right here in our backyard. And we're bringing their expertise to your ears. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or simply seeking inspiration, this podcast is your guide. Join us every week in celebrating innovation, guidance, and the power to inspire greatness. Let's explore the stories that shape our local business landscape, and together, let's ignite the spark of excellence.
All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Homegrown Hustle podcast. We got a super special episode coming in. I got Jay Mawas, awesome story. One of the faces of the Wyn Group, commercial real estate, up and coming, really young team over there at the Wyn Group. So let's just dive into it. Jay, can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and kind of like when you first got into business?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for having me on the podcast. Really honored to be here, and I love what you have going on.
Thanks, Jay.
I started commercial real estate as a full-time career in 2020, right out of college in COVID. So it was one of those things where it was sink or swim. You either learn it or you just go back to the drawing board, find something else. It was really with the help of my mentor, Wyn, who's the CEO of Wyn Group currently, where I really decided to pursue this and put my all into it. Granted that it was one of the few opportunities, maybe the only opportunity that I was able to get during that time. And, like I told you before we started, I realized I had more to give than what, these companies had to give me. And I figured, let me bet on myself and really see where this takes me.
So you saw, you had that own, like that value within yourself, and you saw a greater value.
Definitely.
So was there something that Marshall like kind of said that pulled you in that direction and like had him become like your mentor? Because a lot of people would say he's your peer, being in close as age as you are. I mean, you're really young. You're what, 25? And Marshall's how old? Yeah. So that like that's.
He did turn 36. He did turn 36 last month.
So, okay. So he's a little bit older than you then. So what did he say where you're like, hey, this guy, like he knows what's up. I want to be around him.
It wasn't what he said, it was what he did. At that point, it was, he made me feel seen, heard. Definitely there was a mutual respect that was there. And in addition to that, it was, nobody, how should I say this? Nobody's ever forced to give someone an opportunity. Nobody has to give someone an opportunity, especially in dire time. When commercial real estate is such a, I would say, individual-based industry. Yes, you can be a part of a team and whatnot. You have to foster your own book of business, build your own relationships, do all that. And the way I see it is just giving somebody an opportunity when you're just starting to have your career pick up and put time into them and put effort and resources into them, connect them with your clients and whatnot. And sometimes, refer to them not as your assistant or broker, but partner, that speaks volumes.
So he looked at you that way. So you're like that. He showed you that respect.
Yeah,
and that wasn't at any of these other places. So that
it wasn't at any of these other places. It was just
him,
right
like this,
cuff,
this dude.
And to me, that's that in itself is cool.
Yeah.
You don't get that anywhere. And one thing he taught me was after that was when you find somebody that's good to you, treats you well, takes you places, hold on to them and be loyal by any means.
Treasure that relationship.
Treasure that, yeah. So essentially,
that's wisdom.
Yeah. So that in itself that's what created that mentor-mentee. And that's essentially how it started. It's not complicated when you think about it, and you really shouldn't think about it too much. 1, 2, 3, it shows you by itself. This is essentially, this guy could be your potential mentor.
Yeah.
If you put in the work.
And so, because I know Marshall was over at Caspian at that point. Was he at Caspian from like, say, your age? Like, was Rafiq kind of a model for him in the same way he kind of has been for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
just future generations, man. Like, it's in every industry. Like within pest control, it's the same thing. Like, there's just the people who run these organizations. It's older, and with that, like that technology gap, it becomes a thing where they have to look for us to be the subject matter experts within certain areas of business because now the trends have changed. And that's one thing you guys are doing really differently at the Wyn Group, which I want to talk about a little bit. So, but before we get that, I want to back it up a little further. I mean, this is a homegrown hustle. Like, we want to talk a lot about your story, obviously, but like, I want to kind of tell like how it's developed from like its early ages. So when you were growing up, like tell me like your first business that you had.
First business in middle school, fourth grade, I used to charge my peers in class to sharpen their pencils with my automatic sharpener. Made some pretty good money off of it.
That third grade, fourth. So I've heard a lot of like lemonade stands, and I sold this, but that's the first time I've heard a pencil sharpener. And there you go. Now you don't have to go to work at a different time. It's just always happening. So like that kind of hustler mentality, if you will, and that might not be the best word for it, but like that business mindset. That came from somewhere else, right? Like you had role models in your life before you even had Marshall and Rafiq or anybody like that. Like being around that, what has that done, and like how's that set you up for success at such a young age?
Yeah, so growing up in Ghana, I lived there for 11 years. At that time, my grandfather, rest in peace, was still alive, and I saw and learned from my father and my grandma and mom, everything that he had done. So he didn't have the smoothest childhood, I'd say. He had to face a lot of adversity, and that really built him to be the person that he was, where, he bought a building at the age of 21, did the whole value add strategy before, it became a known thing, raised the rents, fixed it, did all that stuff. And then from there, it really prompted him to do more as an entrepreneur.
Like keep going.
Keep going. So, and then when my mom and dad got married, my dad moved from Lebanon to Ghana, not knowing a word of English, nothing. So my dad had to learn English when he was in Ghana at the age of 20. So he got married at 20, moved to Ghana, West Africa, brand new country. He had never left Lebanon before. So he moved to be with my mom. And that's where my grandpa essentially mentored him, molded him to the person he is now. So my dad had to learn English and whatnot. But growing up and looking at both of them working together, they did incredible things. They were the first to bring the Hyundai dealership to Ghana. So they were the first people to do that, the dealership, as well for buses and vans and whatnot, transportation. They brought that. They also at one point owned the aviation company Ghana Airways. They also had that at one point. They were very involved in different industries in Ghana, and growing up and seeing that, it was phenomenal. I mean, At one point, and my dad will say it, at one point at the age of, I think he was 30, he was overseeing 300 employees. Yeah, that's how big they had gotten at that point. And just the influence, the power, the connections, the success that kind of I saw growing up really made me want to emulate that in my way. Because you can never be who they were. I don't think I can ever be what these two men were. I can try to be close or the same, but in my own way, because we're in two different times. And the stuff that they did back then won't fly now at all.
I mean, and plus we got these like supercomputers in our pockets too, which
they did what they had to do, So So that's essentially what I saw growing up and what really drove me to try to do this, and what still drives me to this day, because if they did it with no excuses, what's stopping us from doing it with no excuse? And it's just that constant reminder. And my dad has stories about my grandpa for days. Every time I hear those stories, I'm like, you know what? That's just more fuel to the fire.
Was there any, sorry to cut you off there. Was there any type of like expectation that you felt like coming from your grandfather or your father, like, hey, you need to do X, Y, Z, or like, was that just more lead by doing and teach by doing, and like, if you want to do this, like, you find your own path type of thing? Like, I'm trying to like better understand like what type of lessons, I guess, that maybe they intentionally gave you or unintentionally.
I mean, the whole goal for them when we were kids growing up was, how can we give them the best life possible, where they're taken care of, they go to the best schools, et cetera, roof over the head, whatever they want, they get. How can we, that was their main goal, how can we do that? I wouldn't say there were any expectations from any of the grandkids, especially me, my brother, my sister. You have to do this, this, and this. We expect it from you. For me, at least, the pressure that I had was from myself. It was
Love
one of
that.
those things where, they didn't do all of that for you to not.
Man, I feel the same.
Do the same and double down.
I feel the same way. Not quite the same story, but I feel the same way with like my grandfather and father.
They did all that so that you can go and do more, not so you can go and do less.
Yeah.
And be content with doing less and say, this is, I'm cool, I'm good. No.
Yeah.
You did that so you can go and take over the world.
Well, and there's this like saying going around, like, hard times make tough men make easy times easy time. Like, you ever heard that? Like, I don't know where it came from, but like, I do not believe that stuff at all. Like, if there's intent behind it, I don't know if you're looking to have kids or anything, but I've got young kids, and like, I'm not going to subscribe to that. But some of it's like, you have to lead by example. Like, and it sounds like you had like really high achieving role models, and like with that, like, would you say it expanded like what you saw as realistic or feasible? Just being like, seeing like what someone who's really real to you, like they're your family, like seeing somebody do it, does that make it more tangible?
100%. And it's it's the idea of, it became the whole idea of anything is possible. Literally anything is possible. You just have to work for it. And the most important thing is, don't take no for an answer. If you do take a no, just find another way around it. Because everybody needs a solution for a problem they're having. And that's the one thing that we all saw growing up, was the network that they built was not because, they controlled this, yes, to some degree, but it's because they always had a solution for somebody's problem that they met with.
No excuses.
And you build that by helping people, by solving people's problems. That's when you bring value to people. Then you establish that relationship, because you can't just come and say, hey, I want to meet you. But
hey, buy this.
What's the purpose of this?
Especially when ads can get served so much, like we're bombarded with that type of transactional messaging, like that value that you're talking about. It's like missing in a lot of what happens, especially like what I see within commercial real estate. We do a lot of business with everyone in the local Twin Cities market, from industrial to retail, but like some of these portfolios that are kind of run by like maybe a little bit older generation, they do things very, very different than you guys do. And like, it's a stark difference. And that's one thing that you kind of identified, right? Is that gap, that problem, if you will. So let's progress the story forward. So you were hustling, sharpening pencils at a young age, right? Had great role models. You moved directly to the Twin Cities in 2017?
Yeah.
Okay. So come here 2017, like what like, what was your thought process? Like, can you take me to like where you're like, yep, I'm doing this and I'm going to go to Minneapolis, like whatever that is?
So my brother moved here in '06.
Okay.
Went to the U, did everything, and then he moved to California in 2015. So right now, as it stands, the only two from my direct family are the only ones here from our direct family.
Okay.
Everybody's back home. So what the idea of coming here was, we asked my brother, from everywhere you've been, what makes the most sense for this kid? He goes, send him to Minnesota.
Was he doing it because like it gets really cold here and all that, or because it's the happiest state in the U.S.?
Because genuinely over time, because we used to visit here since he moved. So from '07 all the way until 2017, before I moved, we visited. So we've already established relationships with his friends, and then we know the state, we knew the cities. It was essentially, it wasn't unknown to us. And we knew the school.
There was some familiarity.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it just made some more sense on my dad's side, being, a father. Okay, I prefer to put my son somewhere where there is people he can rely on.
Resources.
Yeah, he has already, from his brother. So he feels way more comfortable with me going there. And in hindsight, it was probably one of the best decisions of my life, which was coming here.
What's your brother's name?
Ahmed.
Shout out to Ahmed. I mean, that's good.
But yeah, so he really paved the way to coming here, and I really benefited a lot from his network.
So was that kind of ingrained within Carlson School over there at the U of M, or is it a slightly different network and you kind of built your own network there at the U? So, okay, cool.
Me and him were 10 years apart.
Word. So they were there, but you also like went out and built your own. You're not just gonna show up and be like, thanks Ahmed, appreciate it. I'm gonna just hang out with your network. You're like, I gotta build my own thing, and you're around those people as well when you're in that like multiple space. So, were you working while you were at school then?
So because I came on a student visa, I could only work on campus. I was a parking attendant.
Okay.
I kid you not. All I had to do was just sit in that parking booth.
Work study, man.
Do nothing.
Yeah, work study's clutch.
I was like, how do people complain about working a job? You do nothing. You just sit there and make money, do your homework, and watch TV, read. So I did that for the longest time, and then I decided to go work at the. That's when I decided to give, my major a chance. So I went to work at the IT building at the U of M. And that's when it hit me again. You can't have a boss, bro. You can't have anybody tell you when to come in. I was like, I'm not doing this. In 3 months. I was like, yeah, I resign. Thank you. I just left.
Just couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it.
Tried hard.
But I couldn't do it. It was.
So what'd you do?
What did I do?
Like, did you have a? Okay.
And then COVID came, and I was like, you know what?
This is convenient.
This is not convenient because you couldn't work, you couldn't make money, you couldn't do anything. If you tell the U, I want to work outside of campus, they're like, well, you can't because it violates your visa, essentially. Because there are certain rules you have to abide by as an F1 student. So like, yeah, you have to work on campus because it's COVID, there's no work, and you can't apply for financial assistance because coming as an international student, you have to prove that you have money to cover everything.
But I'm trying to keep all this straight. That's a very complicated system that, I mean...
Yeah, no, it is.
It doesn't sound easy, I would feel like as a student visa, like some of that might be easier for you to like survive almost.
No, it's the opposite.
Dang, that's messed up.
And not just that, but also, even overseas, like we had COVID going on here, but also in Lebanon, you had the whole uprising going on. Lebanese economy tanked, and nobody could pull their dollars out of the bank. So yeah, it was a whole.
And your whole family's over there.
Everybody's over there. So everybody that had money in the banks, they weren't allowed to pull their money out, and the most you could pull every week was $300, and all your money just became a number on the screen. Yeah. So say you had $5 million in the account. Your $5 million is just a number on the screen.
There's nothing hard there to back it.
There's nothing hard. You can't pull anything off. And then,
Shoot.
yeah, so that was that. And then in Ghana,
Just literal chaos going on.
And there was another economic issue in Ghana where now they were prohibiting people from using dollars. They had to use local currency. So say you had $1 million, when you convert it to local currency, you just lose a good chunk of that. Yeah,
Where'd it go?
It's there, but you're not allowed to use your dollars anymore. So you have to convert to local currency and then be able to use it. And it wasn't a 1-to-1 ratio. It was.
Oh my gosh.
So all that was going on at that time, and that's when it really hit me. It was like, oh, damn.
I gotta do something.
So I called Marshall. You gotta work for me, and that's literally what. That's how it started. It was in times of distress, is when
is that part of the resources that your brother had helped you develop? Because he's about that same age as Marshall then, or all right, so that's where it comes full circle. Okay.
So
I'm trying to create a timeline here. So all right, just give me a break. There's a lot going on in this conversation. So okay, so Marshall, can I do something for you? And what's he say?
He goes, oh yeah.
All right.
That was literally hell yeah. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's figure something. Let me know what you need me to do. And
how'd you feel when that was a response that you got? Because there's like so much chaos going on. Do you remember kind of like, was there any shift like in what you were thinking before the phone call to after the phone call? Or did you kind of already know homie's going to hook me up?
It's not that homie's going to hook me up. It's like, I don't even know what he's going through. You know, it was like, let me ask.
Hopefully he's okay type of deal.
It was like, let me ask. Because most of the times, the answer is always going to be no if you don't ask.
Closed mouths don't get fed.
So I asked him, and luckily, he said yeah. So after that, I knew from there it was like, okay, this is potentially the start of something for me. Because if I do it and I do it right and I show value and I prove myself, because nothing is ever given, take it. You have to prove yourself in any scenario. So it was one of those things where I interned. That was after I interned. I interned in the summer of 2019, finished, and then, he told me, if you want to come back full time, the door is open. He goes, you did good, et cetera, et cetera. Because I think you can actually take this on and do more. So that's where it was one of those things where, I called him. Yes, the full-time offer was there, but it was a question of, how are you doing? Can anything for me to do?
Yeah. I don't want you to take it out of your pocket. Yeah.
Anything I can do for you?
Have you heard of this COVID thing?
and one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from him is, no matter how much you give, you always get back tenfold. So that's why we never, ever help.
How'd you learn? Like, how'd you learn it from him? Like,
I'm not gonna lie, I did have an instance where I gave and I got back tenfold, and I was like, he's right. This does happen.
Like some crazy type of miracle thing. Yeah.
It's like you give something to someone without the
law of reciprocity, man.
Of getting something, and you just get it, and that's
because when you expect something back, that's really manipulation,
100%.
Right? That's like tit for tat.
Giving something to somebody with a caveat, but that's not what we were taught. It's the whole idea of, you never know what that other person is going through or what their situation is. Just give for the sake of giving.
Be kind.
Because you might have given him the break he or she needs for whatever.
So he's Marshall's actually talking to you about it, because that's like law of reciprocity, like universe pays you back. We can get into religion and all that, because it's like, bring your tithes to the storehouse. And I grew up in a evangelical Christian upbringing, private school, and very similar message, like that tenfold return. Prosperity gospel is what it is. But let's stay away from the religion on this one. Let's get back to real estate. So
that's the whole. And believe it or not, a good chunk of everything I've learned was not just real estate. It was, the mindset, working with the universe, learning how to give and not expect back. Because for some reason in this world we live in, people always expect to get something back when they give. I feel like it's an unspoken rule. I don't know who created it, but the idea of expecting something back is just wrong. You're giving for
Good.
For the good, and whatever they choose to do with what you give, you done your part. Now just go do something else. So yeah, we had long conversations about it, and I think without those talks, I wouldn't be in the position I am now, because real estate is not just the transaction. It's not just the job. It's the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that all stems from.
Yeah. No, I mean, in such a transactional world, like that's what, like a lot of that's missing, right? I mean, at Abracadabra, we do so many transactions that like if that's the only thing we bring to the table, like that's also like that's the expectation, right? Like you do business. So like, why would I want to do business with anybody else if like you're doing just the expectation? So everything we do, we're trying to bring as much value. That's why I was asking you that before we hopped on and went live. Like, how do we make this like the best for you? Because that energy of the universe or whatever you want to call it, like it's a real thing, and like you can believe it or not, but like when you like just act and have like that abundance mindset, it does open up a lot of doors, but you can't see it until you're in that mindset, right? So you knew Rafiq over at Caspian. How long were you over there? Like just a little bit internship?
So I started in 2019, interned full-time in 2020, and then I moved in November of 2023. Yeah, it was hard. It was hard leaving Caspian. It was when you start your career somewhere and you see a lot of success, which the company contributed a lot to in terms of fostering the support, the culture, just being there when you need them to be, especially because being here without family, just by myself, that support system is very important to have. And essentially it becomes a family. They know what's going on in your day-to-day. They know everything about you. They know what your schedule, everything becomes known. Leaving that was very, very hard. It wasn't even about the deals or whatever. No, it's like leaving that.
Yeah, but that's like the deals and everything are awesome, but I know like what Rafiq and partners over there built from like a workplace. I know why there's up and comers like yourself and Marshall that were over there, because they're learning. There's value that's seen, right? And within the Twin Cities space, like there's like this younger generation that's coming through, and some of it's from Caspian, but it's happening all over the place, right? So like, what do you see with that transition in like the generations, I guess, from the older generation that maybe have these portfolios or some properties, and they're kind of driving a lot of it. Like, I mean, St. Paul, there's a lot of office space. It's like new development opportunities over there. Like if you had to like look in the future, like what do you think's gonna happen?
So truth be told, it's very scary, because the up and coming brokers, I feel like the attitude and the mindset they have, I don't think it warrants taking over everything from the previous generation, because I think they lack a lot. Not through skill set or whatever, because some of these guys are really good at transactions. Keyword at transactions. When I started this, my goal wasn't to be a broker or an agent. Yes, my main goal is to be the face of tenant representation, but you don't do that by being an agent or a broker. You do that by being a businessman. The definition of that is somebody who is in the industry to essentially create the most amount of connections, where if you don't have to do a deal now, you can do a deal in 2 years, but you put yourself in a position where you're more than just a broker. You're the guy that people go to do something. They need help with something, you know?
Yeah.
And from there, that's where you build a foundation to be able to reach that goal, because then your network, you know, surpasses anything you ever dreamed about, and not just in one industry, in multiple industries. So that was the mindset I had coming into this was, yeah, I'm not signing up to be a broker. No.
I'm not trying to do deals forever.
I have idols that I look up to who are businessmen. So this is the route I want to take. And it's just the fact that my day-to-day is real estate.
Right now.
So how can I leverage being a businessman in real estate? Use everything I've built here to do real estate. And that, in my opinion, is how up-and-coming brokers and agents have to think in order to be successful long-term. Because you can be an agent and you're going to have another agent outwork you. You just want to be an agent. You need to have depth to what you're doing.
And where are you going in life?
You need to have depth, you know? So that's how I thought about it going in, and that's why it's, you know.
So that the future,
foresight.
Right? Like that, like, so in my role at Abracadabra, like I'm the visionary, if you want to go with a traction term, but like the CEO, like that's what we got to do within small business. It's hard to kind of evolve through that. In commercial real estate, like it happens, but a lot of people in that space, the mindsets are that of like a small business owner almost. Like you can make good money just being in the commercial real estate space, right? And just like be here and have every year after year, it's the same experience versus like, this year I did this, and then I'm going to continue to grow, and I'm going to level up. And now you're progressing through life and like moving towards something, which allows you to like create a lot of separation when people are just kind of coasting, right?
Yeah, the second you say I'm an agent, you just put yourself in a silo.
Commoditize yourself like that, right?
That for yourself, the more you're going to keep within these four walls. And every time you want to take a step out to do something, you feel wrong. You're like, this isn't me. This is not what I want to do. This is not what I signed up for.
Because you've been calling yourself that thing.
So it's the second you start to reprogram,
like label yourself almost.
Label something different, that's when the opportunities for you are endless. So that's something I really picked up and I learned when I first started is my end-all be-all is not real estate. My end-all be-all is doing business.
Expanding.
Business, in real estate and other aspects of entrepreneurship. And one of my clients does a phenomenal job at that. And that's why I learned a lot from him as well. He owns a coherent bus company. So he started off doing transportation. And now, he's coming out with his book. I helped him get a spot for his new project, coffee shop. He has a social media, what's it called? He has a news channel on social media as well. He grew that to, I think, over 1 million followers. It's people like that who, yes, their main focus is this, but they love to do all this other stuff.
Yeah, they got shit going on, man. They're not like gonna be idle. Like, okay, I did my stuff today. I'm gonna wait for something else to happen. Like, they go find something else.
You know who's a famous celebrity that has that? Mark Wahlberg.
Marky Mark, bro. I heard him at the gym this morning. That was the first song when I walked into the gym.
I watched a lot of his stuff, and the way he breaks down his core function and his side functions is just insane. I saw
time management.
He has a chart somewhere that shows everything he does and how it all blends in together. Crazy. He mapped it all out.
Yeah, I seen Rob Deerdeck. He was like an MTV dude. Like same thing. Like they're like people that are doing cool stuff. It's not like it's this flash in the pan when it's consistent and it's there, right? To stay at that level, like within certain spaces, you can kind of only elevate yourself so much. And like from afar, I see Rafiq continuing to do that, right? Like a lot of people would still be over there at Caspian, right? Rafiq's doing other stuff still, right? He's still continuing to level up and expanding like all the time, everywhere. So one of the mentors I have within the pet space, like he's very similar. And one thing he says that expanding always in always, right?
Yep.
So just always abundance. That's kind of what it is.
The key in when you do that, the main thing you have to remember is, how can I have all this expansion support my core function? You know?
Say that again.
So how can I have all this expansion that I'm doing support my core function? You know, in my case, real estate. That's the core function. But it's not the only function. And in your case, it's the pest control business. How can I have all this work that I'm doing, you know, tangent to this, support the main company?
Be more than just fun, right? Like, be more than just fun. Like, support it. Because, like, sometimes when you do some of these other things, like, some people will call it like the shiny object syndrome, right? But it's not shiny object if it all comes back full circle and supports the core function.
Boom, I met this person, helped me with my main business. Got 3 buildings from him, or 3 contracts from him.
Yeah, networks are powerful, man. That's great. I love that. How can I have this expansion? Because abundance mindset, like, I feel like on TikTok and all that, like, it gets thrown around a lot, and it kind of like amps people up sometimes, right? But like, having that, like, I don't know a lot of people that are high level in business or real estate in particular that don't have that, right? Like, that abundance, like, and they might not call it that, but like, they're thinking that way. So like, with that, like, your core function currently being within real estate, is there going to be evolutions within that core function for yourself? Or are you just like hyper-focused, like, I'm going to crush it here, ball out with commercial real estate, and then make a decision at like a predetermined, like when I turn 30 or something? Or like, how are you thinking about it? Because you're young, bro.
Yeah, the way I'm thinking about it is, with tenant rep, you can do it for as long as you want to do it. You know, because at the end of the day, the foundation of it is meeting more business. You get what I mean? Like, it's not just helping people find space. What it is your networking at a faster pace than a lot of other people. Because your job is to meet business owners when you need help. Again, how do you network? You find somebody who has a problem and you offer a solution. And then that's essentially what it is. So do I have a predetermined date in mind of when I want to stop doing that? Probably not, because
you're like laser focused right now.
The day I would essentially stop doing that networking and helping people is probably the day I die.
Word.
Because
that's the realist, man.
Because that's essentially what entrepreneurship is about: networking, meeting people, solving problems. And by not doing that with tenant rep, it's like, okay, what?
You're putting yourself in those positions all the time when you're representing tenants.
It's like going to, for example, I don't know, opening up a cell phone manufacturer or cell phone repair business. You're going to have to meet people who either own businesses or well connected, you know? So
you got to meet people and you got to do stuff, and they got to pay you. Like, those are the 3 things.
Anywhere you go, you're going to be doing this. The only thing that makes tenant rep stand out is you do it at an accelerated pace, at a way faster pace. Because granted, in any given week, you can meet 5, 6, 7 business owners, new business owners, from the people you already work with who refer you to other people. So I don't see it stopping, to be honest, because that funnels the growth. That funnels the expansion always, because then you meet somebody who you think, hey, you have a specific skill set or expertise that we need in this. Let me introduce you to people here. And then you grow that up. And you've already grown the +1 client. And you take them there. You build it up in another way. So I don't think there's ever stopping for that. People say, I want to stop opening doors at 40.
Yeah, I guess it's completely contradictory to everything else, because it's like, I don't know, when you're kind of wired that way, thinking about like an end, it like doesn't make sense. Like, checkpoints for me sometimes are even like, when do I come up for air and like kind of like see, like, has life changed at all? Am I on the right track? Like, have I changed how I feel about anything? So like, let's talk a little bit about what you guys are doing over there at the Wyn Group, but you particularly. So like, the marketing and the technology, that's one thing y'all are doing really special. So do you want to talk a little bit about like how you think about that within the like particular to the Twin Cities market, but you guys have holdings in other areas too. So like what are you doing different?
So it really does boil down to social media. Because
Really?
people say, real estate is a dinosaur industry. And they're right. They are right. Especially in commercial real estate, it's a dinosaur.
So are you like an egg then at this point?
I guess, because what we realized, not just from the gap that I've seen as a broker marketing themselves, but also as a company who is trying to climb up the ranks and compete with pre-existing companies.
And like make a name for yourself,
exactly.
kind of.
So one thing that we have as a small company, as a new company, is the flexibility that the established do not.
You can pivot and do different stuff.
Switch, move, dunk, whatever. And the fact that we have that flexibility, we have control what we put out. For example, if, CBRE.
Take a year.
You can't just have somebody take the phone, put something up on Instagram and boom, market.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist. They have to, it's hard for them to follow the times. With us, it's like our CMO, Winnie Patterson. She comes up to us Monday meeting. Hey guys, the trends are X, Y, Z. We have to do this, this, and this if we want to capture the wave on the trend and get as much exposure. We have to do this. We have to film this. We have to use these. We have to use these trends.
So it's almost like a core function within the team over there.
Yeah.
That's where the bigger companies miss, man. They think it's like, oh, we need social media. Let's check this box.
For the marketing, we told her from the jump.
Tell us what to do.
And we'll do it because we all know we don't have the time or the energy to do your job. You don't have the time or energy to do our job. So we focus on what you tell us to do. So that's really one of the key things that differentiates us is, also the podcast that we have, the videos we make, the reels, the connections, the outreach. She's doing an amazing job keeping us relevant. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Helping with the growth. Because without that, I think we would just be just another brokerage who does this.
And so when you're talking about social media, is within the overall marketing for Wyn Group as a whole, or is it like we've got these properties or these spaces we're trying to fill over here, or like, or both? It's probably both.
Contrary to what people think, we try our best to not use social media for listings.
You're just talking about stuff.
Because we have the listing platforms for listings already.
Yeah.
So with the social media, what Winnie tries to do is to market us as individuals and then market the company as a whole and market the projects that the companies are doing, the tenants that we work with.
There's an incredible amount of strategy behind it, but also the human element there of like marketing you and everyone else within the team. Like
Wyn Group, okay, who's Wyn Group? And then it's like, for example, if I put something on my personal page, a deal I did, a green screen of me talking about an article I was featured in. I collaborate with the page, Winnie accepts it, and then boom, my content is on the Wyn Group page promoting me as an individual that shows them, okay, Wyn Group is composed of these, brokers and CMO, this is what they're doing, this is the deals they work on, the deals they've done, they have. Because majority of my stuff is third party.
Yeah.
You don't see that in listing. You only know unless it's announced. When it's announced.
So how do people like reach out to you? Like, what's the first touch you have with the customer? Like, is it typically a referral? Talk to my boy Jay, or like what's the conversation somebody has when you first meet with them?
So it's usually referrals I've worked with.
Which means you're good.
I'm blessed, to say the least. Not
yeah, I mean, and humble too. But like at the end of the day, deals don't get done if somebody's not doing them.
Yeah, so there's that, and then there's I run ads on my personal page because again, the gap that I realized is, commercial agents don't market themselves like residential agents who absolutely crush it. So learn from them and apply into my space. And then
And you're sharing it too, which is like definition abundance mindset. You're not like, oh, I got my secret sauce over here. Like you're just talking about it because that's what's going to happen anyway.
You do that, you apply it, you run the ads, people see it, but it's always how can I evolve the ads?
So how do you measure success then, like when you're doing that? Because like you're taking a very similar approach to like marketing as what we do over at Aber. Like we do like the paid AdWords and all that kind of stuff, but social media like is one thing we do a lot different than some of these other companies. So in order for people to want to have you on social, like they gotta be interested in it. Like so like can you give me some examples of like what you guys like what did you put out like yesterday, last week, something like that?
I was overseas, so it was just a bunch of vacations. I'm a normal guy as well.
Yeah, I got family.
I like to hang out.
Yeah.
I like to sit in my niece's floaty in the pool.
You're human.
I'm human,
Like
so
you're killing it, but you're still a human.
It's that, but also just letting people know that hey, we are doing deals with big, large companies.
Yeah.
No matter who you are, there's a deal to be done with you. And also showcasing that we have reach. It's that, yes, some of the deals we do, we are able to get your company featured on the Business Journal. Because we promote that, we promote the articles, we promote our tenants, we promote everything they do, and we actually promote their services as well. It's like, hey, you work with us, it's not a deal. You're a part of our life, our ecosystem.
Yep.
We want to put you on a pedestal and let people know our preferred services, vendors are the people we work with.
And it's good for your business too, right? Because we need people to pay rent. Like if you get a deal done and then people aren't paying rent because that business isn't having success, well then that like kind of crumbles the whole thing, right? But like you might not even think about it that way, but from like a financing standpoint, the health of a business that you put in a space, it's incredibly important.
100%.
And like it's funny because pest control is like we can tell when a business is not doing well. Like we're talking about like saving money on pest control, right? Like it's the smallest thing on most P&Ls for properties, pest control. But anytime that like a call like that comes in to our office, we can kind of tell, okay, maybe business isn't going too well over here. And we don't like that. It's not good for anybody, right? But as a service provider, like it's almost like a leading indicator for attrition within a tenant space.
I mean, I can't stress how stressful it is when sometimes the clients call me like, hey, I'm having issues. Because even though it's not my business, I still feel responsible for whatever hardship they're going through. Because at this point, you and I are locked in. It's not, you and I are partners for life.
Yeah.
So what you're going through is something I have to find a way to help with, even though
let's solve it, right?
Even though I get no monetary gain from it, I get nothing from helping you solve your problems except a happy client who's paying their rent, because at the end of the day, they are a direct reflection on me. So I have to make sure they're doing good so that my reputation, my firm's reputation is maintained, and their reputation too.
Yep.
So you're always locked in no matter what. Their problems become your problems. And again, when you have the mindset of a businessman, not an agent, then that becomes normal to you. It's like, oh, I actually feel lucky.
Yeah, you like put on your superhero cape when
me for help.
No, for real, man.
So then I at least know that, okay, I think I'm doing helping people.
Yep.
I'm doing a good job. So they're coming. But yeah, that's something we really also is the fact that our clients come back to us. They're brokers for help that has
within business, right?
Within business.
Not like I need another space or we need more space. Like I got this business problem.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's when we leverage our whole network to figure it out for them. And that's something I'm extremely proud of what we've built as a team. And it puts a smile on my face when we get called for that kind of stuff, even though it's bad, the problem. But again, knowing that you're the one to help fix it.
Yeah, you can make it go away. And sometimes like I find myself in a similar situation where like not my tenants necessarily, but other people that I know in business reaching out to me as a resource, right? And like that feeling of like seeing somebody like with distress because they got this problem, and sometimes they don't even know what the problem is. They just got a whole bunch of thoughts about something, and then you just like know somebody that can do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like when you describe it to them, sometimes they don't think it can be that easy. Like, what do you mean? I just have to talk to one more person and we can have it go away? It's like, yeah, a lot of times it's the who, not necessarily the how.
Yeah.
You just want it done well and fast and sometimes cheap, but like, I really don't care about cheap most times. I want it to be high grade. Like, I want like quality and in something that's gonna create some type of value, right? Like more than, all right, I'm gonna get 10% off of this introduction or whatever. Like that becomes so limiting within everything. But I've seen it a lot where people try to create these referral networks that are all like incentive based, and it's crazy.
Another thing is because our team is so diverse, our networks are completely different. And
that is very new too. Like that, the diversity, like, does that help you think? Like, is that a superpower within the Wyn Group?
Definitely. Because having different networks just means you have more reach. And because also, for example, it's like when our partner is Ozzy and then our other partner is Stas, they have different networks. Those are the whole team right now.
Marshall,
Stas, Ozzy, Wynn, myself.
Squad.
So everybody has their own network that sometimes might have a tiny overlap, but other times it doesn't. And to me, that's valuable because you have more people to help solve a problem than it would be if me and you know the same. If you know 5, I know 5, we have 10, we can reach out, you know?
And then 10 within a particular skill set, right? And subject matter experts, right? Because no one, like, we can all like know a bunch of people, right? But like, what do those people do, and what makes them like elite in like any one part, right?
Yeah.
So having like the quality component to the network that you have, like I've found it's like increasingly more important as I've sought to continue to grow my business, right? Like we've been blessed to grow. We've built our own network, right? And now, like, I'm not the dude that's about to stop. So it's like, how do we continue to grow and expand? Because like, I'm not as young as you, I'm 33, but I'm still trying to do a bunch of cool stuff and like bring value, create opportunities. Like that's the stuff that like you can impact like somebody's grandkid.
Yeah.
That's so cool, bro.
The beauty of 10 and rep, and this is also something that Marshall taught me, was that our impact goes beyond putting somebody in a space. Realistically, when you help somebody find a space, yes, you help them expand their business, but you also provide job opportunities for their employees. And those employees are able to feed their family, and those families are able to have a better way of life. So it's a trickle-down effect that most people overlook because there's so many
they're in the transaction.
On the transaction, but for us, we look past that always.
Like, we have to do this transaction type of thing, but there's more after this. Like, the world doesn't end after a transaction.
I forget the invoice.
That's important for business. We need that.
I genuinely have forgotten to.
Because it's so not even about that for you. Wow. But you keep your money right, though, right?
But it's like, it's not the main focus. Let me invoice as soon as the deal is done. It's like, no, sometimes we do the deal, and then we sign it, and then...
Kindred spirits here.
I mean, right
like
now, before I got in, my partner, Ozzy, he texted me, oh yeah, don't forget the invoice. We signed at least like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, you're right. I got an invoice to get in.
So would you say, like, you guys are you continuing to grow within like the headcount at the Wyn Group? Are you just like, we got these 5 with what you currently have, you're staying with just 5 people over there? Or you're trying to bring on brokers, or like what do you see for like the next 3 years within the business structure?
We definitely want to grow it, but grow it right, because the way the team blends together and works together is very, very vital to A,
culture,
how well the company performs, and B, just how fast we're able to grow.
The velocity
of growth. Because when you hire somebody who doesn't work well with the team, doesn't get along with the team,
don't know what we're trying to do,
then we have a problem. then you have to spend time fixing that before you can look to grow. So the doors are open for brokers, but the main thing is they have to, it has to make sense. We don't just want to bring somebody for the numbers. We've seen firms do that, and it just hasn't helped.
Yeah.
So for us, that's the mindset. Bring on quality.
And within what you're trying to build too, like you didn't really say it, but like the core values that you guys have, like it's important there, but also the culture. Like if people don't work well together, the whole thing doesn't work, man. I've seen it as we're growing. Like if you'd be surprised when somebody who's in a role that like isn't just not the right fit for the company. Like you can get more stuff done if they're just not there sometimes. But like as you grow, like a lot of people don't have the wisdom and foresight like you do, or like your team does, to know how important that is. So they're just like, I need heads in seats, and I need them to do X, Y, Z. But that the deepness of the thought, I guess, behind that, is that something you guys talk about within your team? That's awesome.
Our thing is people over profits, trust over, and that summarizes.
We should make that a reel. That's a good one.
That summarizes everything about us. It's just a description of who we are. Literally what it is.
Simple
as that. And we've had instances where, for example, people over profits, I've gotten screwed out on commissions, but because I value my clients so dearly, I would much rather take that hit and build more business with them than fight the landlord. Get my money, to put them in the rough spot with the landlord. It's like, no matter how big the check is, money comes and money goes. Yes, I was butthurt at first, but again, it's having that right person, the right people next to you.
Oh, freaking self-control too, bro.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people young don't have that. So that's like, you're a really humble dude. And like, but being able to do that as a young person in business, that creates an incredible amount of opportunity, because the impulsivity that our generation has, where we just trying to like click something and open it up like as fast as possible, like that patience is and it's going like extinct, really. But like that technology and that type of thought process, if anything, is just ramping up more within the population, right?
I was heated. I was heated because one thing my dad taught me is never let anybody walk over you. And I felt like they walked over me.
So how do you like process that then?
How do I process?
Like you're heated for how long?
I mean,
do you have like some type of trick or something that like allows you to clear past that?
The trick is honestly
just get over it.
Not just get over it and it's a way to just honestly dim down everything. You say it is, this is what God has written for you. And I'm like, all right, well, this is what God has written for me, and there ain't no way I'm going to change it. So it is what it is. And also, like I said, having the team next to you that's able to guide you in these moments of making sure you don't do
the support.
Yeah.
The support and reminders sometimes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's very big, because if I didn't, I would have probably picked up the phone and gave the landlord my 2 cents and just closed the line. But again, it's beyond that. It's
bigger.
Yeah, it's what's this action going to do for your client? Is the landlord going to start, treating them differently? Is the landlord going to be ruthless on them? So it impacts more than just yourself whenever you take an action as somebody who represents businesses.
But if you only think about yourself like our society does, it's like very self-serving. Like, all right, that's kind of boring, like, and that, like the thinking about how you think, like this conversation that we're having, there's not a lot of young people that have that type of depth of conversation, I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff. We don't want to get kicked off of YouTube or any of that stuff. So, but I know we've gone over a little bit here. I want to be respectful of your time. So, Homegrown Hustle, name of the podcast, obviously. So, if you had to define like what the word hustle meant to you in terms of like being a businessman or in business, how would you define that?
Doing something you love with a smile to the point of insanity.
Say that again.
Doing something you love with a smile to the point of insanity, where you just keep doing it over and over and over and over and over and over again because it makes you happy when you do that. But in reality, if it makes you happy and you love it and see the progress,
do it.
Mm-hmm. You know? So, and it's just one of those things where, and my wife tells me, she goes, wouldn't it be better if you took a corporate job to stop all this headache and whatnot? I'm like, believe it or not, what I love the most are not the highs of the highs, but the lows of the lows in this industry. That's what I love the most, because that's when you really get
learning opportunities, man.
That's what I love the most.
Heck yeah. So
The low stays for a while.
And you kind of got to be like right here though, right? So like experiencing that lows, it allows for you to have higher highs. So you need to like be there. You can't like ignore it. Otherwise you can miss like those opportunities. Like, and that ignorance is bliss thing is where like generations like actually processing things that happen. Like it takes like mental energy and time, and that whole process. Not a lot of people want to do that in our generation. Like reading books, like that's hard for people nowadays. And I don't know. You got an awesome story, bro. Last thing, like anything you want to say directly to the camera, or I'm not done yet. Stop interrupting me. Anything you want to say to the camera, or you want to tell everybody like best way to get in contact with you, or what your social media pages are, things like that. We put it on the screen. I don't know if we can like have like a pop-up thing. That'd be cool.
What I want to take away is, I'm not going to say come work with me if you are interested in real estate. Work with somebody you're comfortable with. And if you felt comfortable and you want to work with me from what you watched and what you saw, by all means, call me. Phone's always open, 612-772-3566. We'll drop the Instagram on the screen, which is at the Jay Mawas. We'll drop it for you. But yeah, work with somebody you're comfortable with. I'd love to serve you, love to help you, but that's your choice if you want to take it. So,
but you're not going anywhere either. So sooner than later creates more opportunities. Yep. Man, I'm super grateful to have you on the Homegrown Hustle here today. Everybody, if you could give us a like, share, or comment on any of our platforms, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, we got them all. Appreciate all the support. Tons of questions coming in, tons of recommendations for additional local entrepreneurs and CEOs to have on the show. So we got a lot more coming. Appreciate you again, Jay. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for coming up here, man.
Thank you all.
Thanks again for joining us on Homegrown Hustle. Our local business community thrives because of the brilliant leaders right here in our backyard. And it's been an absolute privilege to provide them with a platform to share their invaluable expertise. Stay tuned for more insight, wisdom, and inspiration from our local business champions. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Together, we'll continue to nurture and expand our homegrown success stories. Matt Eickman signing off until our next insightful episode.